somewhere in the crowd there.
Like, share and subscribe for more stories.
Once upon a time, in a peaceful countryside filled with golden fields and gentle streams, there lived a poor miller with 3 sons. When the old miller passed away, his humble possessions were divided among them. The eldest received the mill, the second inherited the donkey, and the youngest, the most gentle and kind-hearted of them all, was left with nothing but a cat. The young man sighed deeply. "My brothers can earn a living, but what can I do with a cat?" he said sadly. But the cat, sitting calmly by the fire, looked up with a sparkle in his eyes, as if he understood every word. One morning, the cat spoke. "My dear master," he said politely, "give me a pair of boots and a sturdy bag, and I shall make your fortune." The young man nearly fell off his chair. "A talking cat?" he exclaimed. But there was something confident, almost noble, in the cat's voice. So, with his last few coins, the young man bought a fine pair of boots and a small leather bag. The cat put on his boots, adjusted his feathered hat, and looked absolutely dashing. "Now," said Puss proudly, "you shall see what I can do." Puss set off into the forest, using his clever mind and quick paws. He laid out traps and soon caught a plump rabbit. He brushed off the dust, placed it neatly in his bag, and walked toward the grand royal palace. Before the guards could stop him, he bowed deeply before the king and said, "Your Majesty, I bring you a fine gift from my noble master, the Marquis of Carabas." The king, delighted by such a polite gesture, ordered gold coins to be given in return. Puss smiled slyly. His plan had begun. Every few days, Puss returned to the castle with new gifts: partridges, pheasants, and even a deer. Each time, he bowed and spoke proudly of the Marquis of Carabas. The king began to speak of this nobleman with admiration, and the princess began to wonder who he might be. Meanwhile, the young master lived simply, unaware of how famous he was becoming thanks to his clever cat. One sunny afternoon, Puss knew the king and princess would be traveling by their carriage near the river. He quickly brought his master there and said, "My lord, if you wish to be truly rich, follow my instructions. Now take off your clothes and step into the water." Though confused, the young man trusted his cat. Moments later, as the royal carriage approached, Puss shouted, "Help! Help! The Marquis of Carabas has been robbed. His clothes stolen." The king recognized the name and immediately ordered new royal clothes for him. When the young man emerged dressed in fine velvet, he looked every bit a nobleman. The princess blushed softly when their eyes met. The king invited the marquis into his carriage for the rest of the journey. Puss ran ahead on the road, swift as the wind, warning every farmer and villager along the way. "When the king passes," he said sternly, "you will say that these fields belong to the noble Marquis of Carabas." And when the king's carriage came by, every farmer bowed low and repeated, "These fields belong to the noble Marquis of Carabas." The king was amazed. "What vast lands your family must own, my lord," he said kindly. The young man could only smile nervously, still trying to understand how his cat managed all this. Meanwhile, far ahead, stood a grand stone castle belonging to a terrible ogre who ruled those lands. Puss strode bravely to the gate and asked to meet him. The ogre, intrigued by such boldness, welcomed him in. "I have heard," said Puss, "that you can turn into any creature you wish." The ogre growled with pride. "Indeed I can." And in a flash, he became a mighty lion, roaring so loudly the walls shook. Puss pretended to tremble. "Marvelous!" he cried. "But surely such a great and powerful being could also turn into something small?" The ogre laughed, and with a puff of smoke, he transformed into a mouse. In that instant, Puss leapt, one quick bite, and the ogre was gone forever. When the king's carriage arrived, Puss ran out to greet them. "Welcome, your majesty, to the castle of my master, the Marquis of Carabas." The king was astonished by the size and beauty of the castle. He turned to the young man with admiration. "My dear Marquis, you are truly a man of great fortune and grace. You shall marry my daughter." The princess smiled shyly, and the young man's heart filled with joy. That very evening, the castle shone with light. Music echoed through its halls, and laughter filled every corner. The young man, once poor and hopeless, was now a prince, beloved by all. And sitting proudly beside him, with his boots shining and his tail flicking, was Puss. As the moon rose high, Puss climbed to the castle balcony. He looked out over the lands, now peaceful and free, and smiled to himself. "Not bad for a cat," he whispered with a wink. And from that day on, Puss in Boots lived in comfort, never short of milk or praise, for he had proven that cleverness, courage, and a dash of style can change destiny itself.